Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to do an interesting comparison. I'm going to compare Nvidia and Amazon and answer which one is the best AI stock to buy for 2024 and beyond. This one's going to be more challenging for me than usual. Why is that the case? Well, both Nvidia and Amazon are on my list of top 24 stocks to buy in 2024. So it's going to be hard for me to distinguish which one is the better buy because I like them both. I've recommended both stocks as buys for 2024. So it's going to be interesting. So let's dig into these details and let's find out.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right, the first thing I'm going to compare Amazon and Nvidia on is revenue. But before we get into revenue, let's look at the total addressable market opportunity for artificial intelligence. According to Statista, the total addressable market for artificial intelligence is expected to grow to $1.85 trillion by the year 2030. That would be up significantly from the $207.9 billion in 2023. Artificial intelligence is popularized by large language models like ChatGPT, but there are more applications like driverless car technology, recommender systems, and more. The companies that stand to benefit from the growth in this AI surge is companies like Amazon, Nvidia, Alphabet, Microsoft, and more. Investors getting in today could realize exponential returns from investments that capitalize on the growing effectiveness of artificial intelligence. That being said, we can see Nvidia's revenue exploded to 44.87 billion, up from less than 5 billion in 2015. Amazon, meanwhile, grew from less than 100 billion in revenue all the way up to $554 billion in revenue in the trailing 12 months. Now, not all of Nvidia or Amazon's revenue is generated from subjects related to artificial intelligence, but the percentage is higher for Nvidia than Amazon. However, the total sum might be larger for Amazon than it is for Nvidia because Amazon generates significantly more revenue, more than 10 times as much revenue as Nvidia. Regardless, they're both capitalizing on the growing effectiveness of AI, and given how large the addressable market is, like we saw earlier, they both stand to benefit continuously for the next 6 or 7 years at the very least, if not longer. The next thing I wanted to compare these two on is the operating profit margin. And you can see Nvidia reversing the game here with a nearly 10 times lead in the operating profit margin compared to Amazon. 45.94% for Nvidia and 4.76% for Amazon. The reason Amazon's profit margin is so skinny is because of its e-commerce segment that is very, very thin profit margin. That segment does not increase operating profitability very much, and the opportunity for long term is not very large in terms of operating profit margin for its e-commerce segment. The rest of Amazon's businesses, the ones that get helped by AI, are definitely capable of achieving higher profit margins. In fact, its AWS segment earns profit margin in the most recent quarter, earned an operating profit margin of 30%. So Amazon has segments in its overall business that are more profitable. However, the e-commerce segment brings down the total profitability of the company. Nvidia, meanwhile, has demonstrated excellent growth in operating profitability from 12% all the way up to 46%. The company's done a really good job in increasing profitability as it increases revenue. Unsurprisingly, that's one of the reasons why I recommended Nvidia stock as a buy in 2024. I also wanted to compare these two on their cash flow from operations to sales over the trailing 12 months. And while Nvidia still has the lead in this metric, the gap to Amazon is narrower here. Nvidia has 41.99% cash flow from operations to sales, while Amazon at 12.93%. This metric measures how many dollars out of $100 a company turns into cash flow. So when Nvidia makes sales of $100, it turns $42 into cash flow. Amazon out of $100 turns $13 into cash flow. The reason why Amazon's cash flow is better than its operating profit margin is you can imagine many of Amazon's expenses are non-cash depreciation. The company has bought and paid for its logistic network, its warehouses, planes, vans, trucks, etc., etc. Those it usually pays for upfront, but then the company has to recognize the expense over time through depreciation, and it's not a cash outflow in most cases. So that's why there's the difference from Amazon's cash flow from operations to Amazon's operating profit margin. Nevertheless, Nvidia again in the lead here in this metric. I also wanted to look at these two companies' long-term debt, but before we get into comparing the long-term debt, let's look at the prospects for the next 2 years for Amazon and Nvidia, according to Wall Street analysts. So according to Wall Street analysts, they expect Amazon's revenue to grow by 11% in 2024 and 2025, with earnings per share growing by 34% and 32.6%. Solid growth to be sure. For Nvidia, meanwhile, analysts expect it to grow revenue by 56.5% in 2024 and 17.5% in 2025, with earnings per share growing by 66% in 2024 and 15.9% in 2025. You can see Nvidia's phenomenal growth rate is slowing down here after exploding by 118% in 2023. It's slowly decreasing back down to just the double digits, barely in the mid double digits here. And that's understandable given the company's explosive growth in 2023 and then another year of explosive growth expected in 2024. It's reasonable to assume a slowdown, especially because numerous companies have announced that they're launching their own GPUs, their own large language model chips, their own products that compete with Nvidia. They may not come out immediately, but they're on the way out. And the reason why they're all coming after Nvidia is because of those excellent profit margins I showed you earlier. Let's go back to that. Here we have the Nvidia profit margin, 46% operating profit margin. Gross profit margin is north of 60%. It's rare when you have profit margins that strong that you don't see competition. Competition is going to make an attempt to come after you when they see those types of profit margins, because they feel that even if they can't do things as good as you, that even if they approach your level, they're still going to generate strong profitability and strong sales because the market is so robust. So they're going to take a shot. And that's something I'm going to keep an eye out for. We'll touch back on that towards the end. So the long-term debt, $61 billion for Amazon and $9.7 billion in long-term debt for Nvidia. Smaller long-term debt for Nvidia compared to Amazon, but Amazon generates significantly more revenue. So relationally, I wouldn't say either company's debt is a problem. Finally, let's compare the two on valuation, and I chose to use the forward price to earnings. And Amazon is trading at a forward PE of 31.68 compared to Nvidia trading at a forward PE of 23.9. So, like I said, this was a difficult comparison for me. And even now, at the end of the video, it's a close call. But if I had to pick one of these two as the best AI stock to buy for 2024, I would pick Amazon. And the deciding factor is what I talked about earlier, and that's competition. I've seen competition. I've seen several companies coming out and saying that they're going to launch chips that will rival Nvidia. And I know the people, the companies, the institutions that are buying these chips from Nvidia, they would love to see another supplier to rise up and challenge Nvidia. That way they can play those two off of each other, and that way they don't have to rely on only Nvidia for those chips. They enterprises like to have diverse suppliers. That way it lowers their risk. So for that reason, and that's the deciding factor here, because these two are so close, I would pick Amazon as the better AI stock to buy. But remember, I recommend both of these stocks. I think they're both excellent buys for 2024. Thank you for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. I know there's a lot you could be doing with your time and a lot of other videos you could be watching. So I truly appreciate that you chose to watch this one. If you want to see more videos just like this, hit the subscribe or the like button. They'll both help me make more videos just like this one. Thank you again.